Hello, everyone. So I'm here today with Dan. Dan came to me 7 weeks ago, and the reason he came to me was, well, why don't you tell people why you came to me?
I came to you because I was struggling with behaviors that don't serve me at all anymore. It was all due to childhood trauma and other stuff that I've been through. I had zero coping skills up to the point where I came to you. I was using drugs such as cocaine to cope with behaviors and attitudes and things that were going on in my life that are going to go on in my life.
Okay, and so you did have sobriety for a period of time before you came to me, though.
Yes.
How long?
I had 4 months.
4 months. So now you're at almost six, or you're at 6 months.
I'm at 6+, yeah.
Okay, so it's been a little bit more than I don't remember the exact date. Bottom line, it's roughly 8 weeks since you came.
Yeah.
Okay, so during that period of 4 months of sobriety, did you have cravings for, and it was cocaine was your, okay, and you had cravings for cocaine, but you just managed to stay away from it?
Yep.
Okay. Since you've come to see me, have you had cravings?
No.
Okay. Since the very first session?
No. The first session, it wasn't skepticism, it was more just trying to realize the scope of what I'm actually doing with you. The second session we had, you put me under deeper, and it was, I don't know, ever since then I just have had zero craving or zero interest or.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say put under, for those that are watching this that don't know what you mean, we're talking about hypnosis.
Yes.
Okay. And it's been interesting with you because I did all of the sessions up until today over Zoom.
Yeah.
This is the first time we actually met face to face.
Yeah.
This is the final session. Okay, so the second session, after that, no cravings whatsoever.
Zero.
So your sobriety now is different than it was for the first 4 months.
Absolutely.
First 4 months there was willpower and effort required. Now there's none.
Yep.
So you told me a story earlier about how you know for sure that this is different because you tested it. Why don't you tell everybody how you tested it?
It was probably the scariest thing I've done in a long time because of the fact that I've always been told that don't touch it. It's not something you could ever do again. You are completely sober for the rest of your life. But because you put me under or put me through hypnosis with the suggestion of zero want or zero desire for cocaine anymore, I had to test it. So I bought myself 3 beers, which is usually my limit.
Okay, let's stop right there because the one thing you told me was that historically when you would drink, if you drank a certain amount of alcohol, that instantly that led to cravings for cocaine.
Yes.
And so for that reason, you felt that you had to stay away from alcohol because alcohol's not your problem.
No.
But alcohol is what lowers your inhibitions to the point where you can no longer control your desire for cocaine.
Absolutely.
So when you say that you had to test it, what you're really talking about is that you tested it with alcohol to see if that cocaine desire is actually gone or if it would come back.
Yeah.
So that's the test.
That was the
All
test.
right, so let's talk about the results of the test.
Flying colors. 3 beers, like I said, is my limit, and every single time I've ever had 3 or more beers, it's automatic desire, and I had zero desire.
Mm-hmm.
Like zero even thought. It wasn't even.
Yeah, and you went specifically to the beer store and bought a specific number of cans
Yeah.
because you knew that this was the test.
Yeah.
When did you do this, by the way? You never told me about that until
No,
today.
I did it, I guess, right after our last session. So, which was probably a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just had to know.
So you were convinced, but you still wanted to test it.
Absolutely.
You didn't test it because you weren't convinced.
No.
You were
I
convinced,
was
which is why you
convinced,
tested
but that's why I tested it.
All right.
Which is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So let's talk about what else has changed. What other changes have you noticed?
Coping skills. You, throughout every session, you gave me a huge tool bag full of coping skills, and I use them regularly now. It just blows my mind the amount of change that I've seen in 8 weeks.
And you've had plenty of counseling prior to coming here.
Ridiculous amounts.
Mm-hmm.
Like ridiculous amounts of counseling. I've been in and out of rehab since I was a kid. And
how old are you now?
43.
Your first stint in rehab was what age?
13.
You were in rehab at 13?
At 13 years old, yeah. They shipped me to the States because there was no rehabs in Canada. So
for kids that young?
Yeah.
And so this has been an on and off thing for
my whole life.
Your entire life?
Yeah. And it's funny because I watched one of your videos on YouTube before I even called you. I did my research anyways. And one of the videos said was the hypnotist is always the last person people call.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you were the last person I called.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen more results in 8 weeks than I have in 30 years of treatment.
Man, I'm happy for you. That's great.
It's incredible.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And now it's just a matter of making sure that this stays alive for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But when you know that it was the ineffective thinking that was creating it,
yeah.
and you have, like you said, the tool bag that you have of effective thinking tools, you just have to visit them every day. You know, one thing that's important when we talk about using your effective thinking and, you know, future pacing of a future that's worth living into and creating it up here first. Because when you create it up here, it's not that hard to create it in real life, right?
Absolutely.
How much time are you devoting per day to these mental exercises and using these? Because the toolkits are not only there for you to access a positive, resourceful state when you get into trouble, but they're also there to make sure that it happens that way when you get into a situation where there's temptation.
Yeah, for myself, it's there's no length of time that I actually do it specifically every day.
Yeah.
It's all day.
It's all day.
It's all day. If I feel something coming on, because I know obviously any emotion or feeling that's coming on and something that obviously I can't cope with, I automatically go to the tool bag.
Mm-hmm. And I remember we talked about fight or flight.
Yeah.
And how much time you were spending in fight or flight mode and how you were basically stuck there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, fight or flight is not like an on-off switch like that switch over there. It's like a dimmer switch.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like it's either you're completely rational or you're completely off the rails. Some people just put their dimmer switch down a bit and they get stuck there.
Yeah. And
then that's just where they live. And when you just live there, it's not really a comfortable place to be.
Absolutely.
Do you get that sense now that your dimmer switch is just up all the time, and when it does go down that you can quickly snap yourself back into a rational place?
I can breathe. It's kind of cool, like being able to actually be calm through a stressful situation and be able to think rationally how to solve this problem instead of going off the rails, and no pun intended, but yeah.
Yeah. Don't you think they should be teaching this stuff in schools?
Absolutely. Like, absolutely.
We're on to another topic. If we start talking about that, we'll be here for an hour.
Exactly, yeah. No, for sure.
I hear that from people all the time, and then I always say, people ask me and say, why don't they teach this stuff in schools? My answer is always the same. I don't know, but I've been asking myself that question for a long time.
If everybody has to deal with NLP, then why don't they? Why don't more people know about this? When I talk to other people about NLP, they have zero idea what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And everybody deals with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ways to get there, and this is not the answer for everybody. That's the other thing that we should. I'm always very careful about that. I don't want people to think that this is a solution for everything and for everybody, because it's not. Which is why I do consults and I screen people.
Yeah.
And then once I feel like, okay, this is someone I can work with, then I'm very confident we're going to get spectacular results. But there are lots of people that actually get fantastic results doing the traditional type of, therapy and interventions that you've done as well.
Yeah.
It's not like everybody has to come to this, but it kind of feels like that when you're in that seat and this is the thing that worked for you.
I'm
right?
so excited that I did come to this, because it's.
Yeah, I am too.
I wish I did many years ago.
Mm-hmm. But you were ready for it now. That's
exactly.
The other thing.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, you got it. All right, thanks very much. So,
no problem.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up and then we'll start your final session, and then
perfect.
You're off to the rest of your life. Excellent.